Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've been following along, you know that this is my 2001 Turbo Trans Am LS1. You know that this is a legit street car because it has air conditioning, a back seat, full interior, radio, and everything else an LS1 F-body could possibly come with. You know that it runs 9s in the quarter mile, and you know that my Turbo Trans Am has 1,000 horsepower because, well, the license plate says it does. And now you know because I've shown you the video from the last time I dyno tuned this car before I rebuilt the engine and put a new camshaft in it. But there are a few things you don't know about my Turbo Trans Am, and in this video I'm going to show you 5 of the coolest and somewhat unique modifications that I've performed to my car. Don't worry, in this video I'm not just simply going to show you a line lock and doing some burnouts. An electric cutout, or even some aftermarket gauges. All of that stuff is really cool and my car has that, but that's just not what this video is about. Let's see this stuff in action. I'm going to start with something that I use basically every single time I drive the car, and it's located in this vicinity, and that's a boost activated cutout. Let's get the car up in the air so you can get an up close and personal view of the boost activated cutout and exactly how it works and why I needed it. So here you have it. That is the actuator and that is the downpipe coming from the turbo, if you can see that. And then right here is a 3-inch pipe, and this goes through the K-member and connects to the rest of the exhaust. The reason I needed this was a 4-inch downpipe would not fit through the K-member, and I needed that for my 88mm turbo that I went with a couple of years back. So I made this entire downpipe from scratch. Now I love the boost activated cutout, but there are some downsides, mainly the price. I bought this about 5 years ago before any other competitors hit the market, and I got it from Sound Performance for like $450, which I thought was a little high. Also, like most cutouts, but especially this one, it leaks a little bit more than I think it should. Up next takes us to the back of the car, specifically where the factory spare tire and jack sits. What I've put in there instead is an air compressor with a 1-gallon air tank. Since I had an air tank in the back, I hooked up an air line with a tire gauge. Now setting and adjusting tire pressure, especially at the track, is a total breeze. Also, if you haven't noticed, where my bottom license plate screws should be, I actually have the valves for my rear air springs in the rear suspension. I can set those with the tank and gauge as well. As I said, the tank in the back and the compressor do have a primary purpose. I didn't just get them to fill tires. What it does is it works with this, the Boost Leash Boost Controller. You guys may have seen this controller. It's a really neat 5-stage time-activated controller that not only allows you to do the 5 stages with different ramp rates, but it also lets you set your launch PSI if you have a turbo car. Another neat feature that most don't hook up is called Scramble Boost. What Scramble Boost does is it allows you to preset an additional amount of boost that gets activated when you hit a button that you wire to the boost leash. Now that amount of boost gets added to the original setting that you had in the controller, and its purpose is, let's say you're racing someone and you're neck and neck, or he's a little ahead of you, you hit that button Fast and the Furious style, but without nitrous, and you take the win. This feature is kind of a gimmick, and I've never actually used it in any competitive fashion, But it is a feature with the boost leash, and all you have to do is provide a switch and some wiring, so why not? Moving along, we have what looks to be my cruise control stock, but I've actually converted it to control my launch control. The original way we had launch control was actually called a trans brake, at least for an automatic car, and what this does is it locks first gear and reverse. Now this holds the car much better than the car's brakes, and it allows you to build either boost, RPM, or power and launch at a way more ideal point in your power band. My car has a trans brake. It also has an ignition controlled two-step, and the boost leash controller controls the amount of boost that I leave with off the line, and it's activated by the trans brake. I really didn't want to run one of those corrugated phone line looking buttons that goes and it meets right here in the steering wheel, as I don't think that looks very nice. I wanted to come up with a factory style solution that allowed me to keep both hands on the wheel. I pulled the factory wiring schematic for the car, and I figured out which wires are active when you hit certain buttons on the cruise control stock. So what's neat is this works just like cruise control in the sense that I still have to arm it to go on, which acts as a safety, and then to activate the trans brake, I actually press the decel button. Also, my trans brake will not activate unless it's in manual third gear, providing once again for another safety so I don't accidentally activate launch control if I'm driving. While I was at it, I wanted to figure out a way to lock up my torque converter manually using also the cruise control stock, as that's something I'd like to do with both hands on the wheel as well. The reason for this is I bought a triple disc lockup converter, and although it's totally controlled by the factory for normal cruising, I can take advantage of locking it up in third gear at the track in order to extend that gear out and also make it a lot more efficient, as it's a true one-to-one direct drive with a locked up converter. It eliminates all slip. Couple honorable mentions here for the coolest mods that I've done to my car, and that has to start off with my front CTS-V brake calipers and the 5th gen Camaro 14-inch rotors. These are night and day over the factory stuff that comes on this car, and last year I did a really nice DIY video to show you exactly how to do this. It'll have all the part numbers and links to everything you need, so make sure to check that out. Honorable mention number 2 has to be the custom air conditioning setup on the car. I know it's not a big deal to have AC nowadays on a fast car, but in order to fit this big of a turbo on the car, I had to cut up the front core support and put an aftermarket Griffin radiator standing up straight up and down. I had to find puller fans to fit that. I went to the junkyard and found some off of a 2001 Saab 9.3 Turbo, and they fit this aftermarket radiator like a glove. It looks totally factory. I had to make custom lines. I had to wire it up differently with bigger relays, and honestly, the AC works great, and I'm really happy I put all that effort in to keep it. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers, and if you're new, checking in for the first time, please consider subscribing. This is a car channel. I do videos like the one you just saw, DIYs, builds, racing, dyno, reviews, you name it, it's all right here. As always, I will write an article about this video. It will be linked down below at altdriver.com if you guys want to learn a little bit more in depth about the 5 modifications that I performed to my car. In the description will also be a couple wiring schematics for the LS1 F-body if you want to see how you can wire up your cruise control to be either launch control, trans brake, or the lockup torque converter. If you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, please comment below and I will try and help out as much as humanly possible. With all that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day and I will see everybody in the next video.